Hey guys, today I want to start maybe a new series, we'll see how it goes, where I do 3 tips for and 3 tips against specific heroes. In this case, it's going to be Chromie. One of the best times to force fights with Chromie is right at level 8. Even though we're down a level, we force a fight at level 8, I put the slowing sands out, and it forces the enemies to go in a really awkward position to try to avoid the slowing sands. The slowing sands forces them to start getting hit by our immortal, and we get a lot of value off of this objective. In fact, we end up winning it purely because of that slowing sands that was right there. So even if you're behind a level, using your power spike from hitting level 8 is very, very important on Chromie, as it's one of the major things that she has over other heroes. So make sure to utilize your ultimate abilities right at level 8 or level 9 in the first fight available before level 10, as you will be gaining value over the enemies. One of the easiest times to hit Chromie Qs is right in between the towers, this little wall right here, because most likely the enemies are going to walk through here. Even if they walk through the side or the top, like the top or the bottom of it, the Q plus the hitbox of the enemy will likely make it to where your Q will always land. And usually people are sitting back here, so it's just a nice way to get a couple hit combos whenever the enemies are backed up into that corner. One of the greatest features about Chromie is that she's pretty good on a lot of maps, and it might surprise you on the maps that she's really good at. So to start off, she's good at maps where people are going to be in predictable areas. For example, Volskaya, where they're going to be constantly in those little clustered areas. Battlefield of Eternity, where if they're defending, you can get easy poke off the entire time because they're all around there. If they're attacking, they're all surrounding your objective and you can still get easy poke off. Brax's Holdout, where they're all stuck in that little location for a long time. Infernal Shrines, they're all sitting there trying to clear it. Again, all of the areas where they're clustered. She doesn't do so well when they're in wide open areas like in Tomb of the Spider Queen, where they don't necessarily need to be in a specific area at a specific time. Or Cursed Hollow, where if you're at the range to interrupt the objective, you're at the range that the enemies can take you out. Sky Temple she struggles on because she can't hold points that well by herself, and there's wide areas in the objectives that people can move in and out of, constantly avoiding Chromie. Towers of Doom is a deceptive one, as it seems like the enemies are going to be standing still long enough to where you get a lot of value off of her. However, again, she can be a little challenging just because while she can interrupt people for a long time, it can be very predictable and you can waste a lot of your abilities. So, first tip, utilize Chromie on the maps that she's best on. One tip against Chromie is to draft people who have a lot of healing or self-sustain. People who can keep everyone alive even after the Chromie does their poke. Because the problem about poke heroes is they don't have a lot of good damage during fights if they're not landing it on the people that they want to land it on. So they have to rely on getting a lot of poke damage, which as long as that can be completely healed up by your healer, then the poke damage is essentially mitigated. For example, I prefer Deckard Cain against Chromie a lot of times. As you can see, Chromie has done 5,000 healing, yet Chromie's done 5,000 damage, yet Deckard Cain has healed 7,000. So much of Chromie's damage is not being used meaningfully. Another great counter to Chromie is by simply rotating out of the lane where Chromie is. If you don't feel like you can fight them immediately, there's no point in staying in the lane, because then you're constantly just giving Chromie Q stacks, and the Chromie Q stacks add up really fast and can increase her damage. So by simply leaving the lane and soaking it in a position where you won't get damage taken, will make it to where you get to late game without Chromie one-shotting people. One very strong counter to Chromie, especially if she's getting the Temporal Loop ultimate ability, is when she activates Temporal Loop, simply jump onto Chromie, as it'll scare her off, making it to where she doesn't want to use her abilities anymore, especially if you're playing someone with a lot of CC who can really get on Chromie. As you can see, she didn't cast her abilities in time to get everything off. You scared her off enough to where your team was able to jump in and get a kill. One last tip for countering Chromie is whenever she uses her Temporal Loop ability, you can simply have someone with higher health tank the Q ability, her Sandblast, so they are only hit by the W. This makes it to where she can never really one-shot anyone who gets low health. A great example of this pops up pretty soon as we see Kerrigan gets low enough to where she likely could be in trouble if the full combo hits. And we see Murden immediately get in front, take the Q, so that she only takes the W from the entire combo, making it to where our entire team is still healthy enough to fight at any point during this game. I hope you all enjoyed the Chromie 3 tips for, 3 tips against. If you like this series, toss it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. I can work on this, maybe work on the editing a little bit, and get it a little bit more clean for every other video that I'm doing. If you like my videos, I always encourage everyone, feel free to subscribe and check out the videos that I will be coming up with next. Thank you.